All right, so we talked a little bit about something called a digital footprint. And a digital footprint is what you leave behind whenever you're on an electronic device. Now, this is a computer, this is a cell phone, it's an Xbox, it's a PlayStation, any digital device that you own and communicate with or search with or play with or view videos with. Any of those things are considered digital devices. Any of those things that you do those types of activities on, those save information. So information that you're putting out there is constantly being saved by companies and by just a lot of different things. And a lot of people, when I tell them that these companies are saving your information, you always say, well, is that legal? Well, at the very beginning of every single thing you do, whether it's joining Facebook, joining Instagram, opening up iTunes, anything, you get that pop-up that says user agreement. And it's usually very, very long. And you're like, I'm just going to click OK. In there, you are agreeing that they can collect your data and they can store your data and they can use your data. All of these things that I'm going to show you today and we're going to talk about today, you've already agreed to because you decided to click that accept button. It's all in there. So they're not doing anything illegal. You just didn't read the contract close enough. Okay? And we talked a little bit about the three things that you need to know about. You need to know and understand that in your digital footprint, it can be searched. Anything you do online can be searched. Some easier than others, but it can all be searched. This even includes private photos you take on your phone, but don't post. Your photos are still saved and uploaded to some type of cloud, whether it's iCloud or Google Drive or the Microsoft Cloud. Those are all being updated. As if your phone is connected to Wi-Fi or your phone is connected to a cellular signal, everything you do is being recorded. Everything.
What if it's connected but it's saved to a hard drive?
You mean on your computer? Well, it depends on the services you have. The question was, what if you have them saved to a hard drive? It all depends on your computer. So like my computer, anything on my hard drive automatically gets pushed to my Google Drive as another way to save my stuff. In case my computer hard drive crashes, I have a place that I have everything saved. So if you have one of those things where anything you put on your hard drive instantly gets pushed to the cloud, then it will not be, and then it's going to be saved. If you don't have one of those, then you're safe for that moment. Okay, you're safe for that moment. Make sure you also know that anything that's searched can be saved, copied, and then shared with anybody they want to share it with. And I'm not just talking about your friends. There's lots of people that don't live in the United States that they do a lot of malicious things to companies. Like they'll go in, they'll try to hack into Google or hack into Apple. And if you are part of the group that is saving their stuff in that company, your stuff is also being taken. Now, those people may not find it useful and not use it because we're not famous or important in the grand scheme of things, but it can still be assessed and accessed. So just keep that in mind. If you're saving it to a company's cloud, it can be accessed by people for good or bad things. I'm right here. No voice. Okay, can you try it again? Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Galling's class, if you can hear me, give me a scream. No? Check your speakers one more time. Just check, see if your speakers are there. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, try it now.
Hello, hello, hello.
I lost.
Testing. Working out. All right, good. We're back on track. All right. Also, make sure that you recognize that your digital footprint. This can either help you in your career, and I know it's hard to think of a career when you're in 7th grade, right? But when I mean career, your career starts in college, and that's only 5 years away. That's not a long time, and so even before that, you have to protect yourself before that career starts, because when colleges start looking at your applications, they will start going through your social media, and they'll backtrack quite a few years to see what kind of person you are. Because we all know when we put an application in for a job or put an application in for anything, we kind of try to put our best foot forward and make us sound better than we actually are, because we want to get the job or we want to get into that school. So they'll go in and they'll take a look to see who you actually are, what you actually post with your friends, to see who you truly are instead of who you want to have people perceive that you are. And then make sure you consider what your digital footprint is, right? Keep in mind that your digital footprint is not just what you are putting down, but what other people are putting down about you. There's a lot of things out there that you can control, but you can't control what other people say about you. So you have to make sure that the people you allow to be a part of your social media are people you want to be a part of your social media. And what I mean by this is, I know the game that a lot of you play. It's how many followers do you have? How many friends do you have? Right? It's the game. Oh, I have 1,000. Oh, I have 1,500. Well, listen to that for a second. Those people that you're allowing to follow you, they can leave comments on anything that you post. And those comments can be read by anybody. And if they're bad comments and they're making up lies about you, who is to say that people aren't going to believe them? If you have all those friends and you allow them to be a part of your digital footprint and have no control over them, that's a scary, scary thing. You should not play the game of who has more followers or who has more friends. You should not play that game, because those people you have on there are actually adding to your digital footprint, and they don't care about it because they're not your true friends. They can leave whatever they want, and if people see it, they might believe them over you. So the question was, can't you block those people? Not if you allow them as friends. If you allow them as friends, they have complete access to your stuff. They have complete access to comment on your stuff. Now, if you make your profile private, that's fine. But if you allow them in as a friend, now it's still private to the outside public, but you've now allowed that person in. Okay, so it's not only your settings you have to look at, it's who you are allowing. This is a friend request. Do I know them? If you don't know them, don't say yes. Don't be like, oh, someone wants to be my friend, I'm going to click yes. Don't. You don't know them. If you don't know them, don't click yes. Yes. Same thing. Same thing. You know how it is with gamers, right? You still have the chat window. All of that's saved. The chat window is all saved. Your gamer tag is attached to your name. Your name is attached to an account. That account is attached to an email address. It's all connected. It doesn't matter that it's Xbox or PlayStation or just a game. It is all connected. So we want to make sure you understand that. And we already took this poll, so we're going to go ahead and move on through it. And we talked about leaving a footprint, and that's everything you do online. At the end of today, I'm going to show you something that is going to kind of freak you out. I'm going to show you something that's being done every second of every day. And once again, it's completely legal. So I want you to be I'm showing you this because I care. Like I said last time, it's very important that you know at an early age what's being collected about you so that you can prevent bad things from happening in the future. And so you can be aware what other people can see, even if you think they're not able to see it. Because everything you do leaves a trail. So you should know the term now, digital footprint. Everything you do online, whether it's a phone, a computer, a tablet, a game console, anything that's connected to the internet that you do will leave a trail. And finally, we talked a little bit about imagery. Imagery is what things represent. So we watched this video and we talked about these different symbols. So we're going to start with Engelbert's class, and somebody's going to tell me what the lighthouse represented. And then Mrs. Galling's class, please be prepared to have somebody discuss what the whispers and the copies were about. So Mrs. Engelbert's class, who can come up and tell us what the lighthouse represented? Now, they won't be able to see you. They can hear your voice, so you're fine. Anybody want to come up and say what the lighthouse represented?
You don't remember? Nope.
Okay, the lighthouse, when it's completely dark at night, creates a light, and it allows what? What does it represent?
It represents like how people could just look at your stuff.
Yeah, it represents. So the comment was it represents how people can look at your stuff. It represents that even though in the darkness you think you're protected, there's always somebody able to search and find what they're looking for. So the lighthouse represents search engines, okay, like Google and Yahoo and Bing, whoever uses that one. I don't know who, okay? But that's what the lighthouse represents, the search engine. Mrs. Galling's class, tell us what the copying and the whispering represented.
It means like copying and kind of pasting kind of thing.
Can you say that one more time? We didn't have the volume up.
The copying part is like taking a screenshot.
Yep. And what about the whispering?
I don't know.
Who knows whispering? Okay, come on up. Hurry, hurry, hurry.
The whispering part means showing other people.
Yeah. So remember, the basic thing is this. Sometimes you share private things with people that you deem your friends or your best friends or people that would not share it. But sometimes people can't help themselves but share it with somebody else. That's what the whispering is. The whispering is the sharing of your information behind your back. So keep that in mind. I want you to like gossip. Keep that in mind, because everybody in here may have taken pictures of something they thought was funny and then shared it with a friend, right? Maybe you took inappropriate pictures and shared it with somebody else, and you assume that person you're sharing it with will never show another person. But people get upset with each other. People break up with each other. So people use that against each other. And even if you make up the very next Monday, what happened on Saturday and Sunday, right? Understand that the copying and the whispering means anything you send to anybody is fair game for anybody to send out and share with anybody else behind your back. That's what the copying and whispering. What was the stadium all about, right? The Jumbotron. Let's say you go to a 49er game. Well, not recently. Pretend you didn't go to those recently. But what if you go to a 49er game and on the Jumbotron you take a selfie, right, and you see your picture? What is that Jumbotron doing? So Engelbert's class said it can be broadcast. Galling's class, broadcast to who? Who do you think these copied and whispered items are being broadcasted to?
What do you think? Everyone.
For everyone online to see.
Yeah, for everyone online to see. Now, it can start off in a small group, right? But as you know, groups grow, and your friends may have friends that are not your friends, and your friends as friends may have friends that your friends as friends aren't friends with, right? It sounds complicated, but that means now, understand, that means now the picture you shared with your friend and they shared with a friend of a friend of a friend is now being shared with people now you completely have no idea who they are, and you have no control over it. And when you have no control over something, it becomes a permanent online fixture. Once you let the genie out of the bottle, once you let the image off of your phone, once you send it out to one person, it is out there forever. Forever. And understand, a lot of us are like, well, when things go bad, we always like to think our parents can help us out. When things like this happen, they cannot. They can come to the school and say, this is unacceptable. We need to get these back. But it's out there. In the digital world, your parents don't have much control over where the text messages or the pictures or all these things that you let out of the bottle. They have no control over where they're going, because they become a fixture on so many different devices, and it becomes a persistent matter. And we talked a little bit about this last time, where there are students your exact age who made the wrong decision to share the wrong picture. And now they're so mortified, they're so embarrassed that they never return to school. They can't go to another school because their friend of a friend shared it there as well. They're completely outcasted now, and they feel horrible for one little mistake they made. And it's hard to undo that. It's very hard. And a lot of times, and it's happening more and more, which is very unfortunate, a lot of times these students, these kids, these people your age or just maybe a little bit older find that there's no other recourse for them except to take their own life, because they can't handle it. They can't handle the ridicule. They can't handle the shame. They can't handle what they did. And that's the unfortunate thing, is one little mistake blossoms and explodes into this thing they can't control, their parents can't control. And the more that you can understand that, the better. That digital footprint becomes a marker. Now, the last thing we talked about was Linda and Jason, right? Linda and Jason. Engelbert's class, were we able to have enough time to look at Linda and Jason's things last time? Okay, so this is what I want. I know Mrs. Engelbert and Mrs. Galling, they weren't here, so I'm going to remind them what we found out. So we pretended that we were producers looking for a host of the next big TV show. And we whittled down our prospect list to two people. We whittled it down to Linda and Jason. And we needed to do something called vetting. Vetting means you look deeper and deeper into their digital footprint to see if there's anything bad about them. Because when you're on television, the worst thing you can have is a host that has a scandal or a host that has a shady past that can be brought out into the light and ruin the TV show. So you need to vet your hosts to make sure that they are clean, meaning there's nothing bad about them. So they look into their social media. So Mrs. Engelbert's class, and Mrs. Galling's class, take a few minutes to reacclimate yourself or re-look at Linda. So Engelbert's class, I want you to look at Linda's profile and her posts. And Mrs. Galling's class, I want you to look closer at Jason's profile and post. So about 2 minutes to reacclimate yourself to them. And I'm going to ask what made you kind of change your mind about them. So take a couple minutes and take a look through their posts. Engelbert's class, you are doing Linda, And Galling's class, you are doing Jason. So 2 minutes, and we will return together.
Sure. Please.
About 1 more minute for both classes, please. Just take a look at the inconsistencies that you may find, right? Remember, the profile is what they sent to the producers to make them look the best, and then their social media is who they really are. Or is it who they really are? You have to make that decision. About 45 more seconds.
Yes.
One of them's Linda, one of them's Jason. And that's not even real. Probably Beverly and
Yes. About 30 more seconds, both classes, 30 more seconds. Mrs. Galling's class, if you can have a few students ready to say if they, anybody changed their mind about Jason on being a good person and why. And then Mrs. Engelbert's class, in a couple seconds, have someone tell us if Linda is a good person and why. About 20 more seconds, and we'll make this discussion. Actually, before the discussion, the next page, this is what I want you to do. You kind of see a drawing. I want you to put a check mark. I believe the left column is Linda, and the right column is Jason. So put a check mark if you find Linda or Jason to be the most trustworthy, and then put a check mark if you think one of them is the least trustworthy. So since you only looked at one person, you're just going to put a mark next to the person, whether they were trustworthy or not trustworthy. Just put a check mark with your finger. And then when you put those check marks down, please hit submit. It's the blue button in the bottom right-hand corner.
Oh, mine said yeah.
Or send. Submit, send. Potato, potato. Tomato, tomato. Okay, about 5 more seconds, please, and then whatever you have, just hit submit or send. So let's see. Lena, is Lena in here or Galling's class? Okay, Lena, I'm going to show yours to everybody. And Lena says that Jason would work well with others, but Linda would not. And that Jason is honest and Linda is not. So since Engelbert's class, raise your hand if you think Linda is dishonest. Okay, so and if you could see this, pretty much everybody's hands went up. So I'm going to ask one of them to tell me why they think, just like Lena does, why they think that Linda is dishonest. So who would like to come up and tell us why it's dishonest? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and say why Linda is dishonest.
Well, she seems like a nice person when you look on her profile. It's called. When you look on her social media, she looks like a whole different person. She looks like a mean person. And if you saw that picture that she posted about food, her friend commented that she asked if it was the same thing she ordered at Mimi's Cafe. So maybe she was lying about that.
Very good. So, and that's absolutely a valid point, right? She puts a picture of herself, nice, neat, properly groomed, right? And then on her social media, she has completely different look, right? Now, think about it for a second. When you want to get a job, you want to put your best foot forward, so you want to put the best picture you can. And you're not always going to look the same. Now, I want you to imagine this. If you came to school the way you looked when you woke up, what would people say? You know what I mean? I couldn't tell you how long it takes me to get my hair done in the morning. So, all right, Kate. But that's an absolute valid point. But we have to remember, a person is not how they decide to put makeup on or how they look, right? So we can't judge a person by their looks, but people do get judged by their looks, right? And finally, the next part was that Linda said she made this beautiful food, and then down in the comments, somebody said, you didn't make that. That was from Mimi's. What's that? So listen for a second. We find that Linda is dishonest, not because of what she wrote, but because of what somebody else wrote. And if you think about it for a second, we kind of got to know Linda a little bit because we got to read her posts and see her social media. What do we know about the person who posted the comment? Nothing, not one thing. But we took that person's word over hers. Now imagine this. Imagine you post something that is absolutely true. Like, look what I made for my school project. And then one of those friends, and I'm doing air quotes, Mrs. Galling's class, one of your friends that you just friended, you have no idea who they are, they decide to be funny, and they say, you didn't make that, you bought that at the store. But you know you made it, but they made a completely inaccurate comment. Now, the people that are following you read that, and now they think you are the liar because they're taking the comments over you. What I'm trying to get to you to understand is this. Your digital footprint is not only what you post about yourself, but your digital footprint is what others post about you, even if what they post about you is a lie. So you have to be very wary of who you select as a friend by adding them. You have to be very cautious about who you let comment on your Instagram posts. You have to be very careful on who you let in to your circle of friends. So you have to stop playing the game of who has the most friends on Facebook or who has the most followers on Instagram. That has to stop because it can start blowing up into a very, very bad footprint for you. You need to absolutely go through and purge the people that you don't know. You have to go through and remove the people that you can't trust. You have to go through your settings and make sure you lock it down from public to private. If you don't do that now, you're going to be in for a world of hurt. Now, Galling's class, what did we find out about Jason?
I found out that I really don't trust him because when he was talking, he was saying that in his free time he hangs out with his cat and his band. But what I read was he was asking someone to go hang out.
And you never trust a guy who has a cat, right? No. No, but so that's good. That's good. Any other reasons in Golling's class? Any other reasons?
He got suspended for wrestling, I think, because he was doing steroids.
Good. And really quickly, did we know where that comment came from? Did it come from someone else's post, or was
No,
it from his?
It was, I think, from the school or something.
From the school. Okay, so, and that's a very. Oh wait, that's a very good point, because remember, your school records can also be reviewed by the schools looking at you. So I'm glad they put that post in, because, you know, maybe he thought it was in high school and nobody would find out as soon as he was out of high school, but those records still float around. And any more Golling's class, anything else that anybody can think of why you maybe thought he was dishonest?
No more hands.
No more hands. Okay. The last thing I wanted to say was we discussed about this in last period, where Jason in one account said he was single, and then in another account he said he was married. And that can be a very bad situation if his wife finds out about it, right? And we just had a comment here said, uh-oh, cheater. Now I want you to think of this situation. Way back in the day, a long, long time ago, in a galaxy far, far not away, it's right here. In this place, way back in 2005, there was the #1 social media site called MySpace. And I know your great uncle told you about it. Now, so listen, I'll wait. MySpace was the #1 social media site out there, and it allowed people to create a profile and to put up their likes and their dislikes and change the background, and everybody was on it. Everybody. But soon people thought, you know, it was getting too crazy. People thought it was getting too flashy. So people decided, you know, in about 2006, 2007, it started just getting so crowded. They didn't like it anymore. So they looked over and they saw a brand new social media site coming out. And that was Facebook. So back in 2007, 2008 timeline, people started switching over from MySpace to Facebook. Now, people never ended their accounts on MySpace. They didn't go and clear anything out on MySpace. They just left it and joined Facebook. And when you just leave something, it doesn't disappear. It's not like you leave a dish on your counter and it just disappears. That's probably your mom picking it up, right? But on the internet, nobody comes and picks up your trash. And so you leave that behind, and it's still searchable. So maybe the account they saw with Jason being single was an old account that he left and never went back to. And the account that they saw that he was married was his newer account. And he's not going to think about going back. So we have to start thinking in terms of this. But I want you to understand that your mind instantly goes to, untrustworthy. And I'll tell you what, about 90% of the people who view your posts will not think maybe they just didn't update their account. They will be, gotcha. They will say you are untrustworthy. And it was an innocent mistake. But you're not going to have the opportunity to go and defend yourself, because a digital footprint cannot be defended. It's what you leave behind. So you have to be aware of what you're leaving behind. If you have an account and you don't use it anymore, delete it. At least it can't be searched by the average person. It doesn't get totally deleted from the actual company, but it will get deleted off of the searchable public. So if you have accounts that you don't use anymore, delete them so they are ghosts in your past, so people can go and search them. Okay, keep that in mind. And that's the thing I always hear. The reason I have so many Facebook accounts is because I forget the password of one, so I just create another one. That's going to become a very, very murky water for you in the future. You're going to have so many accounts leaving behind a trail of who you were, and maybe you don't want that trail to be left. So you're going to have to figure out a way to get those deleted. Okay? So let's move on. Colleen's class, does anybody have any questions?
Are you guys okay? Yeah. They're good so far.
All right, so let's move it along. So that's what we were having there. All right, good. All right, good. So let's reflect. All right, just do it. I want you to write down some of the things that we found out which helped shape Linda and Jason's digital footprint. Now, it doesn't have to be just good or just bad. Anything we talked about, what helped shape your view of Linda and Jason based on their digital footprint? So what in there helped shape your view? About 2 minutes to give me your typed answers.
Conference day on the 30th. And I want to knock out all my. I want to knock out all my. It's like 6 rules, one for each.
About 1 more minute to give me your best answers, and then make sure you hit send in the bottom right-hand corner.
Never have an ordinary day, so I'm always running around, including on the weekend.
I don't like to refuse to do that much.
I don't have a choice. I don't have time. I'm always booked.
I know it's
I wish I could get more people. More variety of people. Not the same people. I'm not saying
No, I know you want.
I'm glad you used.
All right, so whatever you have, Golling's class and Engelbert's class, please hit submit. So Isaiah, is Isaiah in here? Isaiah. So Isaiah's in Engelbert's class. So we're going to share this out. I thought Linda and Jason were good people, but as soon as I read that Linda lied about making the food and Jason taking steroids, I wasn't willing to trust them anymore. Very good, right? But I do want you to remember, it wasn't Linda that lied. It was somebody that said she lied. Now, we don't know for a fact whether she did lie or not. We don't know if that was a friend that is now a frenemy and she's trolling her, and every time she posts something, she's putting down bad things. We have no idea. So we have to be aware of these things when we're reading posts. Do we know the people leaving the posts better than we know the people themselves? Okay, question? Is what? Deleting comments. You can delete comments and they'll go off your feed, but they're still searchable. Yes. Yeah. Question in the back? Okay. Gollings, any questions at all, Gollings?
No, we're good.
All right, moving on. Statement. Oh, yeah. So we have a student here that said their Facebook account got hacked into. Yeah, it happens. Happens all the time. I mean, there's programs out there that just go to Facebook and they just run through a variety of different passwords for accounts and they see what they can get into. So just keep that aware. Another question. Can you tell what a person is really like offline based on what you find online? So think about it. By reading what you read about Jason and Linda, do you truly think you know who they are? If you met them, be like, oh, and you can start, know who they are, or you think their digital selves are completely different than their regular selves. This is a conundrum. That means something that's very wishy-washy. right, that we come into contact with every day. We meet friends online that we've never met in person. We meet friends on, Microsoft or the PlayStation Network, and we play games with them that we never. And then if we ever met them in person, do you think we really know who they are? Or are they just playing a part? Right? Sometimes people like to play a part online instead of who they really are. Kind of a second self on there. So about 30 more seconds for Galling's class and Engelbert's class. Is Brandon in this class or Galling's class? Brandon saying one of my favorite things. Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that. And Skylar, okay, if you haven't hit send, please hit send now because I'm going to show Skylar's, and I may bump you out if you have not hit send. So Skylar, her response was no, not really. If people are trying to be funny or get mad at someone, they can post it, and things that they do not, they don't mean. So now I said post, right? Yeah. So please understand this. We all have our bad days. We all have the days where everything seems to be going wrong and we take it out on other people and we just get mad. And then the next day it seems a little bit better and we come back to our normal selves. When you have a bad day online, it's not gone. And the comments you've made and the things that you said and the posts that you made, they're there and they become part of your digital person, right? I mean, it's hard to disassociate activities online with the person that's actually there. That's the actual person. So keep that in mind. Think about that. Think about what people would search. So think about this. I think this is one of the last questions I want you to answer. What are some things you have done, positive or negative, online that have added to your digital footprint? What are some other types of information that make up your digital footprint? Right? So things that you've posted, things that other people have posted. What are some things that can be online that would make up part of your digital footprint? Think about it as your digital footprint is a pizza. What parts would be your toppings? All the things sprinkled on top that make up the entirety of the pizza. What things online do you do? Do you post? Do you like? Do you... About 30 more seconds. About 30 more seconds. About 15 more seconds, and whatever you have, please hit send. About 5 seconds, and whatever you have, please hit send. And send. Please hit send. Leanne, are you in this class or in Galling's class? Yeah. Oh, we're doing Engelbert's class all day. All right. So now, Leanne kind of hit it right on the head because It's things that you post. That's the thing we always think about. And a lot of people stop there. But it's also what other people post about you, meaning comments or other pictures. And I told you the example last time about how whenever my wife takes a picture, she always asks, is this okay to post? Always. And I've always thought, why would you do that? You can post whatever you want. But when I started looking more into this, because I wanted to do this digital footprint with you, I started realizing it's because she cares about what's going online and what can be misconstrued or misrepresented in a photo. And we talked about when I go home and I play with my dog, you know, my dog's a puppy and we play pretty rough with the football that we have, and I throw it and I grab it out of his mouth and I throw it again. And she can catch a picture of me grabbing the football and pulling it out of his mouth. But and I have my fist in the air with the ball in it. But if you post that online and you add a little funny comment to it, like Mr. Marquez, well, she wouldn't call me Mr. Marquez, but he's about to hit our dog as a joke, right? And she posts it without saying anything. And then one of her friend goes, oh, yeah, he's always doing that as a joke. And then that gets around, and then it gets posted on, and they retweet it or they repost it. And then eventually it gets to somebody that doesn't know me. And then it's reposted again. And then eventually, let's say it gets to one of your parents who's online, and they go, wait a minute, that's a teacher at Alta Sierra, and he beats dogs. He's a dog beater. So she calls the school and says, I'd like to talk to your principal. And she goes, you know you have a dog abuser on your campus? Imagine what he's doing to the students. If he can beat a poor, helpless little dog, what is he doing to our students? And then I get called in. And I'm not saying this has ever happened, but I'm letting you know that things can get blown out of proportion very quickly. And to alleviate any of those, my wife very nicely always asks, is this okay to post? Do your friends give you that courtesy?
No.
Do your friends take a picture of you and ask, can I post it, or do they just post it? Do your friends take pictures of you all as a group and then make up a funny statement that's not true? Understand, in the moment it may be funny, but down the line it can be very devastating. Down the line it can be very hurtful. Down the line it can be something that completely either gets you in trouble or makes you not want to come back to school ever again. It is completely unacceptable for your friends to be able to take pictures of you and post whatever they want. You have the right to tell them to stop. You have the right to say that is not okay to post. You have the right to control your digital footprint. But nobody tells them. And when nobody tells them, they can do whatever they want. You don't have to be quiet about it. And the thing about it is, not everybody gets to hear this kind of talk. And they go through high school completely oblivious to this type of stuff. And they get in trouble. They get kicked off of teams. They get kicked out of school just for reposting or liking a comment. They get kicked out for dumb mistakes. Hey, no more. So quick quiz, 3 questions. Go for it. They should appear right on your screen. And then we're gonna show you some stuff that's gonna scare you.
Whoa.
And I'll put this into perspective. I like the comment I just heard of, I can't be scared. You just wait.
I wish I would have had all this information before we got all the technology.
I was going to say, in high school?
No, I was. I would have never. I did this. Never. I would have never. My smudge was.
That's the thing. There's a lot of them doing. They're getting taken away.
About 15 more seconds.
I know, like taking pictures of kids that are even at a party where there's.
The NCAA rules it doesn't stop on campus. All right, so I'm gonna push out the results to you. So true or false, your digital footprint is only things that you post. That is absolutely false. It's what other people post about you as well. And what kind of information make up the footprint? Both of them, photos and comments and posts about you. And what kind of things make up a positive footprint?
Talking.
Now, before I show you the scary part, I want to remind you that a positive footprint can make a positive impact on your life. But what it takes is selection, meaning who can view what you're posting. What it takes is making sure your friends understand what a digital footprint is so that they won't tarnish yours. Tarnishing means make something that's very bright and sparkly into something very dull and ugly. That's what the word tarnish means. But also, it can help you get us ahead and a step of the game. But it takes a little bit of restraint, meaning sometimes online is not the place to exercise your free speech. Sometimes it takes a little bit of restraint to say, I'm not going to make that comment I really want to make. I'm not going to get involved in the argument I really want to get involved in. I'm not going to state my opinion I really want to state. Sometimes online, it takes restraint to say, I am just not going to get involved in it so that I don't get pulled into something I don't want to. My digital footprint, I've been taking care of for a while. And it's helped me out very recently by getting me a position at Fresno Pacific University, right? I never went and applied for Fresno Pacific. I never went and asked if there was a job opening. They called me and said, we have a position. We're looking for a professor to teach multimedia classes to teachers, and we hear you're the best. And I said, well, may I ask where you hear this from? And they mentioned some names. These names are of people I've never met, but I've met them online and I've discussed with them things online. So my digital footprint allowed me to meet people that were able to search my footprint and go, this person knows what he's talking about, which led to a position that I wasn't even searching for. So a digital footprint can be very helpful, but you have to take care of it. You have to nurture it. You have to make sure that you have control over it. You can't just be all willy-nilly doing whatever you want. You have to have self-control, even online. So let me show you really quick the scary part. So there is a website called history.google.com. Google saves every single thing you type into the search box. Everything you type into the search box. So yesterday, I was searching for toys for my niece whose birthday is coming up. So Toy Wiz, Toys R Us, the shirt list, all of those things of where I was looking for toys for her or shirts for her, they all popped up. Everything that I change in my browser is listed. Everything that I've searched in my browser is listed. Every account setting that I've changed is listed. Every site that I've visited is listed. Everything since the beginning of you starting to search is listed. But that is not it. Galling's class and Engelbert's class, raise your hand if you've ever used Siri. Raise your hand if you've ever used the voice features in Google. Watch this. Now I'm going to show you Google's archive, but Siri has the same archive, and I don't know how to access that. But look.
Oh my God.
Whoops. Hold on. I asked that a few days ago. It saves it.
What did it say?
Everything that I've asked my phone since the beginning of time is recorded. Now, hold on. The one thing they don't show you, every phone call you've ever made is saved as well, just like this.
Can we listen to it?
You can't get those. They're saved in Google, and anybody at Google can get them. So, but wait.
Guys.
Now, I'll tell you what, you guys were a lot better last Friday. Look at this one. Wherever you have ever been is tracked. Wherever you have ever been is tracked. I've been to Hawaii, so it's there. I travel all up and down California giving presentations to students and teachers about technology. Every location, where I've stayed, what I've done, the pictures I've taken, they are all there. Now, hold on. There's more. Hold on. I get hired by Texas school districts to come down and do this exact same thing with them. YouTube. Every video you have ever watched is documented and listed of what you've seen and what you've done. Every single YouTube video. Everything you've ever searched on YouTube is posted and listed. Yeah, it's going to be good. Everything. So, I'm going to end you with this. I have been working with Google products for a long time. And I just discovered this on Monday. Just discovered this on Monday. Apple does this. Microsoft does this. Your phone companies do this. Every company that uses technology in the digital realm saves every single thing that you do. And if you are using a computer or a phone that you're not paying for yourself, your parents have the complete right, since they own the account, to call up the phone company and say, I would like a complete list of pictures and texts sent from this number. Because they own the account and they own the information. So what I'm telling you is this. You think you're being sneaky. You think you're being candid. That means you think you're doing things without people knowing about it. And I'll tell you right now, the more and more this gets out, the more and more students can understand. If you're afraid that something will get out, you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. If you're afraid that a text message will be discovered, you shouldn't be sending it in the first place. If you're scared at all about this, you shouldn't be searching that stuff in the first place. It will come back to haunt you. You are all searchable. Since you were all born in a searchable age, since the very first time you started an account with anything, your digital footprint began. What is that going to make you look like if somebody just searched your footprint? And I tell you this not to scare you. I tell you this right now so that you can catch it before you cannot control it. Some of you maybe still be a little bit too immature to understand the high gravity of this situation. Some of you are completely understanding what I'm talking about. And hopefully now you will think a little bit before you post. Think a little bit before you comment. Because you want to make sure your footprint is as clean as you possibly can. So I'm going to end the broadcast. I'm going to take some questions from Engelbert's class. Then I will go into Galling's class and take some questions for you if you have any. So let me end my broadcast, which, by the way, I have been recording all of you.